Okay, so in this last video, we're talking about Charles Martel. So the introduction is that after the Roman Empire ended, Europe more or less became divided into what are known as kingdoms, and the Franks controlled the largest kingdom. And you should know the name of this kingdom, which is, or was, Gaul. Okay, over time it gets subdivided again, but we'll look at that in another class. So the Franks control the biggest kingdom. Then, after Clovis died in 511, time passes, because I don't have time to tell you about all the things that happen in between, and we arrive at the year 700 AD. At this time, there was a position in the Frankish kingdom called the Mayor Domo. The Mayor Domo was in charge officially of the royal household and the estates, okay? So the king's palace and his land, looking after his servants and things like that. So you can see all that here, right? That Clovis dies, time passes, there's the Mayordomo, and he's in charge of the king's house, lands, servants, etc. But unofficially what happens is this role starts to have more power, and it begins with Charles Martel. So when Charles Martel becomes Mayordomo in 719, he gradually starts to change the role. Unofficially, he's leading the armies and making political decisions. This could have happened because the king didn't want to do it and delegated some of these jobs to him, or because he manipulated the king into giving him this responsibility. But in effect, he became the true ruler of the kingdom, not the king himself. So he got a lot of power. And he's also called the Hammer, Charles the Hammer, because Martel is like the French word for hammer. But it also matches up with his kind of attitude because he was a great warrior. And the most important thing that he did is defeat the Muslims in the Battle of Tours or Poitiers in 732. You should know all about this battle from Sociales, I think. This was an extremely important battle. Perhaps you know why. I'm pausing so that you can think about it. Well, because in this battle, the Franks win, the Christians win against the Muslims. What might have happened if they hadn't won? Well, that the Muslims would have invaded France and it would not have been a Christian country anymore. For that reason, Charles Martel became considered a Christian hero that saved France and stopped the terrible Muslims from invading. When he died, his son took over, and his son was called Pepin the Short. Now, his actual name is not Pepin the Short, it's Pepin. The short part is like a nickname that has been given to him. Some historians say, or a lot of them said, that that's because he was small in height. But in fact, a lot of historians also argue that it's a mistranslation and that they called him the Short because he was not intelligent, so like short of intelligence. We can never really know, but I think there are more historians that think it's the lack of intelligence rather than the height that gave him his name. On the other hand, quite interestingly, he can't have been that stupid because he did something very smart, which was he made an alliance with the Pope, like he made friends with the Pope, and hopefully you remember from the previous video that by this point the popes had become quite secular and involved in politics and therefore quite powerful. So Pepin cleverly got close to the Pope. The Pope needed help at this time because there were a group called the Lombards who lived in the northern part of Italy that wanted to attack his palace in Rome and take over Rome. And so Pepin the Short agreed to help the Pope to stop them from invading. And in return, the Pope gave him the title King by the Grace of God. Now, this is no little title. I mean, think about it. King by the grace of God. He's saying that he is literally the king because God wants him to be the king. And if you think at this time, a lot of people were Christians and obviously really respected God. In this way, he was trying to gain more power and respect for himself by making him seem much closer to God. And also the fact that it's the Pope that names him this just adds to the authenticity of the decision. And so Charles Martel and all these events lead to the start of the Carolingian dynasty. Carolingian dynasty included Charlemagne, who I know a lot of you are familiar with. So after the term exams, we're going to be looking at him and this dynasty and everything. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. Good luck with your studies, and I'll see you in class.